Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about exponents and signed fractions. But before we even talk about that, I want to do a quick reminder of our order of operations, which includes our PEMDAS. Some of you guys might know it as please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Just a reminder what this stands for. Our parentheses comes first, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. As we are completing some of these problems, you want to keep these in mind because it's really important that we're following our order of operations, okay? Let's go ahead and talk about our first problem. And our first problem is going to be 3 over or divided by 5 to the third power. Okay. We know that this is a division sign. Anytime there's a fraction, that's the same thing as a division sign. So thinking about our order of operations, this D comes in later on in our order of operations. But down here, I see that there is an exponent that I need to deal with, and E comes in second in our order of operations. So that tells me that I need to first deal with this exponent, okay? I like to go ahead and draw out that fraction sign on the other side of the equal sign because I know that my answer is still going to be written as a fraction. I could go ahead and write this as a decimal if I wanted to, but I don't want to. And in Mat 117, we usually don't have to write our answers as decimals, okay? So let's go ahead and evaluate this 5 to the third power. We know that that means that it's going to be 5, multiply it by itself 3 times. 5 times 5 times 5. Now, there's no operation or anything happening in the numerator of our problem, so I'm just going to bring that over, okay? Now, again, there's nothing happening in the numerator, so I'm just going to bring that over again, but down here I do have some multiplication that is going on. I know that 5 times 5 is 25, and 25 times 5 is 125. So I know that 3 over 5 to the third power is the same thing as 3 over 25. They are equal to one another. Okay, let's go ahead and do one more example. Next up, we are going to have negative 5 over 2, or 5 halves, to the third power. Now, thinking back to our last couple videos, I automatically see that this negative sign is sitting inside the parentheses. So that tells me that I'm going to have to multiply this negative by itself this number of times, okay? Just like we did in the last problems, I'm going to go ahead and expand this out. Negative 5 over 2 once, negative 5 over 2 twice, negative 5 over 2 3 times. I'm going to jump down here so I have some more space. Now, just like before, we're going to combine this all, or maybe not just like before, but just like before, I'm going to write this as one single numerator and one single denominator. We don't have to think about this as 3 separate fractions, okay? So in our numerator, we have negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5 all over negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Okay, so actually, if you guys are smart cookies, you guys will notice that I did something wrong here. I should not have written that negative in the denominator. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase that. Sorry about that, guys. The reason we don't need that negative down there is because we already have a negative up top. We already have a negative up top. That's the negative that we're representing for each value, okay? So with that, let's go ahead and evaluate our numerator. We know that negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25. Positive 25 times a negative 5, we end up with negative 125. All over, now remember, we don't have to include any negatives in the denominator. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is positive 8. So our result of negative 5 over 2 cubed, or to the third power, is negative 125 over 8. Something I want to point out to you guys that I didn't mention in one of the previous videos is that we have this negative sign inside the parentheses. We talked about that, but also I want you to notice that this is to the third power. We know that to the third power is an odd number. 3 is an odd number. We end up with a negative result anytime we are taking an exponent that is odd. I know that sounds crazy. We'll talk a little bit more about it in class. Hopefully that made a little bit of sense. Thank you guys so much. I will see you in the morning. Let me know if you have any questions.